You look at the difference in the stark difference in our, look at the stark difference in our rooms here. You
in your honor.
We'll get into that. We're going to get into that.
In your honor.
But really, this is perfect because you look at what it looks like behind you and look at what it looks like behind me. You look like the boss and I look like the interviewer for the job, which is really how this all began to begin with. How this whole relationship began and friendship. It's been a roller coaster ride.
I can get my dirty underwear. Do you want me to get my dirty underwear? Put it back here?
No, it's perfect. It's perfect just the way it is. I couldn't have made a better metaphor for the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy is, we might as well just introduce this guy. He was the partner of Bud Friedman in the venture of Improv Comedy Traffic Schools, the founder and proprietor of, you may have gone to an Improv Comedy Traffic School when you got a ticket so that you could get the points off your ticket. And you would have had an instructor who was a comedian or an aspiring comedian come in and teach that class. And that is how I met this man. Also, he's a published author. Could you want to tell us what the title of your book is?
Well, first, I just wanted to say that I wasn't the founder of Improv Traffic School. Somebody else founded it. It was Los Angeles. I was just a license holder for all of Florida.
Oh, so man, I tried to give you a whole lot more credit just now. I really did. You could have just gone with it and then later on said Lolli fucked up. He didn't know. He screwed up.
Get sued. Okay, perfect. Love it.
Yeah, I would have been the one though, the guilty party.
I would be implicit. No, I'm.
This is what I do. I just try to raise your legend, Burt. I'm just trying to raise your legend in the community.
Why start? Go ahead.
Already, this guy's legendary. So he franchised, I guess, Improv Comedy Traffic School and took it to other parts of the country, basically, and which is where I met him. I became an instructor at Improv Comedy Traffic School, but that's just the beginning. Yeah, I can't believe you still have that. Burt, that really removes a tremendous amount of sex appeal. And I want to mention, when I would go in and teach, I would not wear the Improv Comedy Traffic School shirt.
That surprises me that you would do something against that.
Also, he's a published author. Tell us what your book, the titles of your book or books.
Well, based on one of the infomercials I did with the improv, we did. You can't see it, it's reversed. I don't know how to fix that. Oh, no, it doesn't do it. Stand up for your success. Sell it with humor.
Oh, man.
And
this is the big one. Burt Teplitzky.
Not going to be.
It's not going to be okay. That's the, like, you know, that's your that's your rebel without a cause.
I do have a revision. It's going to be called It's Still Not Going to Be Okay.
The sequel for anybody who wants more pain in their life that didn't get enough with his first book. Also, and this is sort of a little cult underground thing, but Burt ran, I think you still technically run it if it ever comes back, but probably one of the coolest shows in LA to do, and that is the Kibitz Room every Monday, right? In Cantor's Deli in Hollywood. Tuesday, sorry. Gosh, man, it's been a while. And this was a regular place that I would perform. I was like, they sort of let me, Burt knew me so long and knew the pain I'd been through with Improv Comedy Traffic School that he would give me let me go on whenever I wanted. It's a little folk scene in Hollywood, West Hollywood, that this guy created. And also, he's the owner of Top Banana brand comedy. So when you see Top Banana coming to your town, that's my Top Banana friend here, Mr. Burt Teplitzky, very funny comedian, my pal. Hey, Burt.
I'm glad we got back together after the Florida days and started. I followed you to your shows 15 years ago, right? You took me. Actually, it turned out I took you, but you took me to your shows, and I got to watch those over on Sunset. I forgot the name of that, across from Blue. what was that? The House of Blues. You used to do a show there, a weekly show.
Where? I did?
Yeah, you used to take me there. Was it a Japanese restaurant, a 3-story restaurant across from House of Blues? You used to do a show there.
You came to see me perform there?
You did. I think I may have driven you to a couple of times. Do you remember that show?
Man, I don't remember that. I do remember performing there. I also remember not really enjoying performing there. I don't remember it going particularly well. Amagi, was that the place?
It might have been, but I remember when you particularly enjoyed performing. I'm not sure.
I don't know if the other people enjoyed just watching me perform. I think would be my wow. I didn't remember that, Burt. I don't remember that.
You're the only one out there that's irreverent, really, that just doesn't give a crap about what you talk about, and you're Lenny Bruce Jr. and you don't care. So I love that you are a nonconformist. Doesn't work well in traffic school, but it does work well everywhere else.
But that's not why you fired me. But let's get this out. Let's put this on the record for the No Idea Zone. I like putting history on the record, you know, because there are a lot of people out there.
It was the outline you didn't want to follow. That's what I remember. That's what I remember.
You're sticking with that story, aren't you?
That's what I remember.
You look like you're being questioned by a Senate committee. That's what I remember. This is what I recall. Burt told me that I couldn't follow the minute-by-minute outline. A 4-hour class having a minute-by-minute outline, by the way. I knew I wasn't going to be able. What?
And the specific jokes that were inserted for you.
I used the jokes. The jokes were good. The jokes were good. And I wasn't good enough to pass over any jokes at that period of my comedy development. But I will say, it was the best part-time job I've ever had. And in 1998, I was making $500 a week. I think $500 a week, working 20 hours a week for you. And as a 23-year-old kid, that was a tremendous amount of money, dude. And it was fun. It was actually a really fun job. But the real reason I was fired from that job was because Burt perceived that I was getting laid by the girls who were coming to traffic school. And he gave me the minute-by-minute outline bullshit reason. But I truly believe, since we've had off-the-record conversations many times about this, that he was pissed that I had no evidence, by the way. Did you have any evidence that I was getting laid?
I don't recall. I really don't recall that whole situation. I really don't. I remember you telling me that you did. You told me.
Many years afterward, I told you I did. But I was too nervous to really pull it through, man. I had a couple girls come back over after the classes, but I never really sealed the deal. I will tell you one story. I mean, is there lawsuits still? I mean, I don't want to get you in trouble or anything.
But
okay, there was a Muslim woman. She was from India. And she may have been Hindu, she may have been Muslim, I don't know. She was married, and she called Improv Comedy Traffic School to get my contact information. Your office gave it to her after the class, and she called me and she said, "Can I see you?" And she came over and she brought a pizza with her, and she had sex with me.
Oh, you never told me.
And I never saw her again after that. Totally correct.
What kind of pizza?
I think it was a Hawaiian pizza, like pineapple and ham. I'm pretty sure. So, and if she was Muslim, she shouldn't have been eating ham. Maybe she thought the Jew and the Muslim would eat some ham together and then have intercourse, and just.
Well, you know, in Orlando, there wasn't even an improv, right? So we had to create the illusion of an improv comedy club and plug it, selling it to Improv Comedy Traffic School without even being an improv there at the time. And so we had to give tickets to SAC Comedy Lab because there wasn't an improv. You have to be the Improv Comedy Traffic School there, you're a little, classes, you're a little bit of a celebrity.
You're kind of your sound is cutting in and out a little bit.
How's that?
That's much better. Perfect. Whatever you did worked. I want to say this because it just occurred to me. There were no improvs anywhere. The only improv were in California at the time. And to be honest with you, improv was still a name that was like the most synonymous with comedy. You put improv on anything, improv comedy club with that logo. Maybe it was because of Evening at the Improv. What do you think of? What reason do you think there is for that?
Well, the show A&E's Evening at the Improv was still popular. This was, I think, 95, 96 when we started that. So we had to build up the name. In the telephone script, we explained what it was to everyone who called, and that we had professional comedians, because we really never had anybody that was not paid professional in some way. I mean, some had been burned out, and this is perfect for them. Remember I told you Daniel Tosh even sort of applied, remember?
Yes.
He elected.
He had options. He had options. Yeah. He had a lot of options. I think he had some family money.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know.
I mean, from a young person's point of view, from that time, being around the same age, I'm a little bit younger than him, I think. But yeah, if you were like my age around that time, you wouldn't be turning a job like that down or negotiating unless you had some kind of safety or security. I mean, most college students were desperate for money, and I was 23, so maybe Daniel Tosh might have been 24 or 25. Or either that, or he was already on his way up with comedy, and he was like, I don't need to stick around for this. I don't know, but
I remember we had a discussion about it, and he said, okay, so I teach the class for 4 hours, and I collect all of your money, and then I go to the bank and I put all the money in your bank. And I said, he goes, how much do I get for that? I go, $80. He's like, I think I'll pass. I think I.
Right. And listen to me though, but listen to me, I'm saying this was one of the best part-time jobs. I was so grateful to have this job. It was fun, and I made more money that guy had money.
Yeah.
He had some, it's not a complicated thing to tell the difference between someone who inherits money and property and someone who doesn't. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm gonna start calling this shit out because I'm too polite with people like that. I really am. I'm really too nice and polite with people like that. I'm gonna start slapping them a little. I have friends who I'm nice to. Sorry, I'm going off on a rant. I just had a friend over here who I could have given it to and I didn't. But but improv had a strong brand. I remember getting the business cards that had my name on it, and it said instructor, and I was so proud of that because I hadn't been paid. I'd been paid a couple times to do comedy. I'm wondering why you hired me, because I really had only just began doing stand-up.
Well, we started teaching classes for the first-time drivers. They're 16, 17, 18. So we needed, they really didn't want to see me up there. So we brought in some younger people to connect with them, and we brought in some SAC people, SAC Comedy Lab people.
Was that, okay, SAC Comedy Lab, was that the punk rock guy with the blonde guy? I forget his name. He was very popular. He was a good instructor. Shit, I can't remember his name now. He wasn't a stand-up. There was like one guy there who wasn't a stand-up. He was an improv guy or a sketch guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, the sketch people were better for the younger people. They were more interactive. I think we had Jay Hopkins for a while, I remember. But we had some good, we really had the best, the best instructors. A lot of the schools, even maybe the National Safety Council schools, they started saying that they were comedy, started adding the word comedy to their businesses.
Oh, really? They were like, we have to compete with this guy.
Yeah, but that actually helped. They went to that school and they were so, they're experienced to add a 5-minute cartoon, and then the police officer taught the rest. It sort of defeated the purpose of them calling it, and that drove them to us. So we did really, really well until internet.
Right, which was really only a couple years after I met you anyway. Yeah, and the class is out. I don't want to stay on the subject forever because there's so much other stuff to talk about. But the classes in California were 8 hours, right? If you took a class out here, it was an 8-hour class.
Yeah, we had 4 in Florida. Yeah.
I can't imagine though. Was it a minute by minute outline for 8 hours?
I didn't handle California.
Oh shit! I would have flourished out here.
Yeah, Steve Lolli's 8-hour traffic school. They would have been the most popular.
That's a dream job for a comic. I mean, for anyone who's doesn't have any skill except maybe that they're charismatic. They don't know how to do anything. A college degree is useless anyway. You're going out, you want to be creative. This was a great job, man. I'm serious. It was.
I want to say it still exists, and that people should go to it if they. I mean, I'm not a part of it. I haven't been for 20 years.
Wait,
It's a good concept. People should still.
It still exists?
I think online.
Okay. Zoom Improv Comedy Zoom Traffic School, or you can. You know what? That's where all the comedy shows are now. They're online anyway. So, have you done a Zoom comedy show, Burt?
Does this count?
No.
Okay, then.
This might be better than a Zoom comedy show.
I had a family reunion online. Does that count? Maybe.
Yes, that's closer to it than this. Did you really have a family reunion online?
It was a birthday thing, and it turned out to be a reunion, and that didn't. That was.
Oh, was that the one where they attacked you? Burt, you had a family of hecklers.
I had a family. I don't know how to turn it off. How about you? You've been. How are you enjoying it? This is great. You're doing so many that I think I replaced Dane Cook on this. He canceled the last minute. You and I think I took over his spot, or was
I've had so many fucking guests cancel on me last minute. I'm burned out from the show, and we're gonna take a hiatus. We're gonna release anyway. It's a long. I don't need to get into it, but we're gonna release best of episodes, clips of episodes for maybe. But I have to go through and do all that. But anyway, I don't want to bore you, and I don't want to take away from your time by talking about that. Yeah, I am doing good. Thank you for asking. Thank you for caring. Burt, you're one of the nicest guys. That's why that cancer's room is such a friendly place. And I'm not saying it's a safe space. It's not a safe space. I don't want to mislead people. It's genuinely a fun place to go. The people seem like they really want to be there. Occasionally get a crusty open micer who's begrudgingly there, but most of the time it's just you created a really great atmosphere. I don't think people outside of LA understand comedy is grapes of wrath in LA. It's a murderous, all the audience who should not be doing comedy have become comedians. And it's a nightmare trying to go on stage other places. So this man, and it's just because I think you care, is really why I think it works.
When we started this, the room we have is kind of a pro-am, I believe, because everybody's an open micer. We've got
audio. You got to get closer or something.
Okay. Well, not everybody. Hear me?
Yeah, that's good. If you just get closer, you're good.
It's kind of a pro-am because not everybody's a beginner. You've got you, Barry,
right.
Comedy on Rye shows, Rick Overton, your guest. We've got a lot of good people that come through that work on material because of our location. But we started this kind of in New Orleans at the True Brew. It was a comedy house, and we had it was called the True Brew Comedy Pro-Am Comedy Showcase, and we had professionals and beginners mixed. And so we kind of do the same thing with this. And so, we put in a few open micers and then try to mix it up like that. And I think it keeps it moving along pretty good. It motivates the new people to want to aspire to what you're doing, or Barry, or, whoever we have.
So Barry Sobel, for those of you who don't know, is a comedy legend from the 80s. He's the guy he was in the movie Punchline. And he basically shadowed Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks learned to do stand-up by palling around with Barry Sobel around comedy clubs, I think in New York City. It might have been out here in LA, but he's a regular weekly, I don't know if you want to call him a drop-in co-host, headliner And I guess go ahead.
He stops in pretty regular. You do. We got Howard. You know, it's a lot of fun. And then sometimes if somebody was, you know, going to work on something, they have a show, they can stop through and do some time. Although the room turned 100% clean about 3 years ago. People were just not comfortable in the dining room listening to what we were saying and walking out on checks. We had a choice to continue it or.
So the bar in Cantor's is this legendary deli. I mean, you know, Jimi Hendrix, the Rolling Stones, all of the most famous people, artists from the 70s, 60s, and 70s would come late night to this place, and someone would perform in this place where we're performing.
Right.
And so the deli is connected to the bar. It's not like two separate buildings. So if you're a bad comic with a loud foul mouth set, you know, Mrs. Maisel over there with her fucking beef stroganoff might be freaked out that her kids are hearing, you know, AIDS rape jokes, you know, like basically, because that's what really, you know, it's some dark stuff. Go ahead, Burt.
Although that's what it was, but you know, even though we were quiet, there's now a group of ladies who play mahjong next door, and they complained about how loud we are. So we had to. So you know, there were 4 mahjong ladies, and they complained about us. They could hear us from the other room, and so we had
the clean. They could hear they were. Oh, those old Jewish ladies. They just can't even handle clean loud just because it's loud.
It was too loud.
Well, they need to be loud. You know, old Jewish ladies have to be loud themselves. They don't want to compete with other loud shit.
Well, they were in their defense. They were probably gambling a couple of quarters here and there. So, you know.
Now, Burt, I am one of the most foul-mouthed comedians. I just want the testimony of my friend who ran this clean show that I've been doing for what, 3 years, 3 years? How long have I been coming there?
Yeah.
I have never done a dirty set on your show. I have always been clean.
That's right.
And I just want you to know that out there. For those of you who think there's the dirty comic and the clean comic, there are some comics who can be clean. I don't honestly think it's a natural thing for a person to talk more than 10 minutes without swearing. But that's just my personal opinion. These are 5 to 7 minute sets. So
I think you're just not dirty. I mean, you push the envelope, which I think is great. And that's the whole idea: push the envelope and say it without saying it. There's not many people better than you in saying it without saying it, and so you can technically keep on there. And that's the great thing about like your signature bit. You got some great signature bits that are squeaky clean, and your other bits you push the envelope, and that keeps you on stage. And I love that because people get uncomfortable with violating the rules.
Yes. I thank you so much for saying that, brother. I think I have PTSD from so many years of being beat around that it's hard to even know when someone really likes you. It's just really cool. I appreciate it. You know, I definitely have enjoyed going to your place because my comedy career has sort of taken this path of I have a place where I'm a regular at. For the first 7 or 8 years I was in LA, it was Mixed Nuts, which is a black club. And then for a few years after that, that club closed and I was at the Bliss Cafe a lot with Howard, you know, and Dave Corrado. I was there a lot. And in their little rooms, the church and the, you know, Howard Berger's little, you know, sequence of shows that he had. And then later on, that closed. The Bliss Cafe closed a few years ago, and then I sort of gravitated over to your place, and it's been a fun regular place to work out stuff, man.
What's fun to me is that we have our table. We've got our table, and at the Improv, they used to have the round table. I don't know if you know about the round table.
Vaguely, but for our viewers who definitely don't know, please tell us what that is.
Well, so we have our version of the round table, and that's the table that that I label hack that we can sit at. You know, you and I and Bob and a few different people that have been there for a few years. Well, the Improv had a round table And when I first met Bud Freeman and Mark Lano to pitch a sort of a partnership with them in a couple different areas, they invited me to the round table, and I had no idea what the round table was. I thought it was going to be on Wilshire at a high rise. I go to the club, and basically it's a table that's wooden that is round. And I don't know, I might have got a couple splinters from sitting at the table, I don't know. But it is a round table, and it's famous, and it's still there. And when they sort of remodeled, everyone tried to get that round table, including me, but it's still there. It's hidden. They still use it to eat on, but that was famous. Bud Friedman, that was his table with his guests.
Right, with the most important people sat with him there at that table.
If he wanted the table, you moved.
If you went up to the table, you might get turned away.
And that's like when we go sit down at our table,
right?
In this room, if someone's sitting there, we don't make them leave overtly, but we'll make them uncomfortable so they will leave.
Yes. You know what I think you do well is you let them sit for a little while and feel like they belong, and then when the show begins, you go, "Hey, you got to go sit over there."
I don't know if
I don't know if you do that or Bob or somebody else does, or maybe I do. I think I have done it a couple times. But it's just a great scene. It's a great scene, and the people there are really genuinely loving, and it's a cool little folk scene, man. I think it will be remembered in comedy lore. Do you think it's going to reopen?
Yeah, I think I don't really know. I was married to a doctor, but that doesn't mean I know anything about.
Burt, you got to come closer. That all broke up. Say again.
I was married to a doctor, but I don't know anything about medicine, and it would sound stupid if I even try. But like when I was reading about the Spanish flu, it lasted about 18 months, and then you had the Roaring '20s. So theoretically, I know it's totally different, but possibly there might be some similarity. I don't know. And then maybe in a couple of years, when everyone is comfortable, if that even happens, I think it'll be strong, and people will be thankful and appreciate comedy and appreciate this a lot more than they did, because I don't think people really appreciated, going out until now. I don't know. It seems like it. Have you done any movie theater shows or any live shows?
I did one live show outside by a fountain. A girl picked me up, and we went to the east side of town, and there was a fountain, and Perry Kurtz was hosting it, and there were about 7 people picnicking outside in the park. And I did probably a 10 or 12 minutes of comedy. I don't remember what I said, but it felt better than the last time I had intercourse. Right. It was that good. I mean, it was so, you know me, man. I didn't even know. I let all the bats came out of the belfry, man. I was talking about I don't even remember what the hell I said. People seemed amused. Yeah. So you know what was funny was I was there with this girl. She was fall down drunk, and she had a what do you call it? Not an 8-ball, but a 40 ounce. She had a 40 ounce of something. And she was so drunk, and she went to put the bottle of beer down, and she missed the ledge, and she dropped it, and the bottle of beer fell and smashed in front of the fountain into 1,000 pieces. And the girl, completely oblivious, kept doing her set. And just as she dropped the fucking beer bottle, a kid on a scooter came around the fountain and went straight through the glass. And I thought, oh, this isn't that kid's, he's going to see the glass, and he did it again. He came through there 4 times, Burt. Like a fucking Simpsons, like something out of the Simpsons. That was the highlight of that show. I've got to tell you, that's the only thing I remember from that show. And the girl, she wouldn't stop her set. She wouldn't, she was totally, anyway.
Well, I've been listening to some of your podcasts, and I once in a while about how you're very funny, and you have these your humor comes out of your personality as opposed to scripted punchlines necessarily. You have a disdain for the real craft in some ways of the crafted punchline. When you say John Mulaney, I mean, just the look on your face, like
oh my God, these boring people. I mean, I don't mind the accountant. I love you, you know, I love the Alan Arkin Jew. There's something about John Mulaney that just screams to me like, that's not what comedians are. They're not these like manicured, polished people these princes who got the carpet rolled out for them and they don't have any scars on them. You know, there's no wounds, there's no scars, there's no pain. You know what I mean? There's just this kind of the quirky politeness. That is a death of comedy. I have a disdain for that. But I love joke tellers and I have jokes. I just don't know how to organize them. I don't know how to organize.
You know, like being in comedy in the 80s and 90s, you know, I was a student of the comedy on the road, evening at there. That was all leading up to the John Mulaney type punchlines, and you hate that.
Yeah, but the people who were doing that in the 80s they had attitude. I don't care if they were I don't care about the semantics of if they were reciting a routine, but they had attitude and they had character. Like they were tough. Not these like these, I don't know, man. It just looks like John Mulaney, and he's not the only one. There are a lot of comedians like this. But he may be the most well known. He looks like a guy who they asked to tell jokes at the company party.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I never thought there was anything wrong with that because that's like, you know, growing up in the comedy world, that's what it is to me. Like, so, you know, like mainstream was so different than anything I ever, like, you know, there's nothing written down. There's nothing that, you know, I basically took old jokes and reworked them for the traffic schools and for corporate entertainment, and they pay you a lot. And to go into a comedy club and try to create comedy from laughter from scratch is hard and risky.
Right.
Right?
But yeah, but it's so much fun.
Right.
It's so much fun, and once you start getting that wheel greased, and you start rolling on that train, there's nothing like it in the world. However, I will be fair. When I record a comedy album or a comedy special or a concert, that'll be a very scripted thing. I mean, I may improvise between islands. I may go from island to island, but you know what appears very off the cuff, you know, because you've seen me many times, there's a lot of scripted stuff. I have a lot of set material. The audience just doesn't know it's scripted. They think it's off the cuff. And so maybe that's just the years of doing it, decades of doing it. You can fool people. Yeah, but you know, my bits are written out. A lot of my bits are written out completely, and I'm sitting home writing out bits. I have a bit called the State of Negro that I'm writing, which is, it has to be written. It can't be improvised because it's like George Carlin type piece of, you know, that can't be written. That can't be
improvised.
It can't be improvised. No.
Are you going to try to record an audio album, maybe submit it to, you know, people are home now, they're listening. There's a lot of things going on. Are you going to be submitting it to, I don't know, I don't even know how it works, but how do they pick up your bits? Would you record it, put it on Amazon or?
Well, to answer you, I got booked I've got a couple Zoom shows coming up. I got booked for the 23rd and the 29th. What I'm going to start doing with these Zoom shows, because I'm not doing any material on Zoom. I'm not doing any of my best. I don't want to, because people record these Zoom shows. I don't want but I will do the new stuff. I will work that out on these Zoom shows, because I could sit with a piece of paper in front of me. Nobody knows, Burt. You know, nobody knows I'm not holding a little piece of paper or looking at something. So
that's the amazing thing about it. When we did all these Comedy on Rise, I took all the audio and cut it up and put it all into little pieces and tried to give it to sell it to SiriusXM Radio to piece it up, and then the comics would get paid.
They wouldn't take it.
Huh?
They didn't take it, right?
They took 2 bits.
They took yours, right? But you had you know, Rick Overton and all these great comedians.
Some of them we didn't have written permission.
Oh, I see.
Now we did have written permission from quite a few, a lot of good ones. I'm trying to think of some of the names that are more popular now. This is about 4 or 5 years ago. We cut them up and submitted them to Sirius XM Radio, and they picked up mine. I don't know why, but there were so many other good, I mean, so many better ones. I thought maybe mine were safe. I don't really know why.
Burt, how much money have you made from these 2 bits that Sirius XM Radio has been playing of yours?
Well, they only play a couple times a month, and I think you get, if you're the creator and if you're the talent, they give you double money. I think it's like $50, $60 every time they play it.
So have you seen some money?
Yeah, I think it's about $100 a month. They play it they play one each bit once or twice every month, it seems, and so but it's, I appreciate the fact that somebody liked something, right?
I think it's so cool, Burt. I mean, Burt, that's enough, man. I mean, you got Sirius XM radios. Someone out there in like Kazakhstan is hearing your joke.
I thought you were going to say Arkansas. I didn't realize you were going to. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know, Singapore, someone in Siberia, some military, some American soldier locked in a base in Siberia, listening, just wanting the burden lifted off him for a second, and he hears your bit. What can you tell us? I don't want to be charged for your bit, but can you tell us the bits that got on there?
The Taliban, the last remaining Taliban, listening, laughing. That would be a compliment. No, I don't know.
Like the Albert Brooks movie. What was it? The Comedy in the Muslim World?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, one of the things is about my material comes from my mother. I got canceled once doing a joke about my dad when I was up north. I did a joke about my dad that I had to cut out of the Sirius XM bit because it's somehow divisive. And it was, my dad had, he was very ill. He went to the doctor, and we went to Kaiser, and he had stage 4 Kaiser Permanente, and when you have that, there's nothing you can do. And people
That's the bit that got took?
Yeah, I took it out.
Oh, you took that out? That's really edgy, Burt. I could see how that could ruffle some feathers. You might be careful. You might stop the Vietnam War with that bit.
But I think the joke...
Troops might come home after they hear that.
You'd be surprised. Like up north, for example, Kaiser Permanente is the only choice. And so when I did that joke up north, they didn't like that I hadn't made fun of it, and I got no, like it wasn't even like shut up.
Wait, was it the Asian audience you were in front of when you did that?
Well, it happened to have been, but it was at the Alameda Theater, and I think there was 500 people. It was the opening of Crazy Rich Asian, and they have a show in between, and they booked me to do a few minutes. And when I said the Kaiser joke, it bombed because Kaiser is the only choice in that area, and they loved it. And after that, I couldn't get them back. I
could never have imagined Kaiser Permanente raising the level of protest. I mean, that's about par with your career, that you would get protested for making. And you weren't digging at Kaiser Permanente. You were making a word joke, a word play.
Yeah.
Man.
I think the joke that Sirius liked was that my mother, it's her 65th high school reunion. I took her to the 65th high school reunion. On the way there, she said, "I can't wait to see everyone." That you'll be lucky to see anyone. So that was a little bit. They liked that one, and then so a couple of very trite ones, but the other stuff. And all the great comedy from Comedy on Rye that we filmed in the years, they didn't take it. So,
well, you could still do something with it. You never know. Hey, Burt, is there anybody who's getting canceled that you're happy about?
Well, it's coming out of left field, right? I mean, a lot of people are getting canceled. I know there is for you.
Do you think they're canceled? And it has nothing to do with their behavior. I'm just happy people get canceled because I'm sick of them, like Ellen. I'm just tired of Ellen. I'm tired of looking at her like her like Lord of the Rings elfin head You know, I'm just,
Well, that wouldn't be the reason that I would want her to get canceled. I think she's had enough success. You know, I mean,
yeah, that's another way to put it.
how much more success does she need? I mean, she's what, 15 years, probably a couple of $100 million, and you know, if that's it, go. She's a great stand-up. Go back and enjoy stand-up. Like that's what everybody seems to be doing when they finish with what they're doing. They go back to stand-up.
Yes, but I wonder how connected her stand-up would even be at this point, you know, or if it would be embarrassing because she might not have anything to say, you know. I gotta say, her stand-up was phenomenal. Her stand-up was incredible. I actually think she was funnier than Seinfeld in her stand-up. Personally, you know, but yeah, I'm just so sick of the talk show host. You know, it kind of feels like comedians used to be movie stars. We used to be these auteurs, you know, filmmakers, movie stars, huge TV stars, and it feels like we are. I'm just confessing this to you. This is my feeling. We're game show hosts, talk show hosts, and talent show judges now. Talent show hosts, talent show judges, game show hosts, talk show hosts. Um, it seems like the art of comedy has fallen off a cliff as far as cultural importance.
Yeah.
That's my larger sort of feeling. I don't know if I've ever expressed that to you or not, but I've been feeling that for a long time.
But you're right. It does seem like once you see Howie Mandel judge a juggling act, it's hard to go want to watch an hour of his comedy. You know, so totally like I respect because he's out there only doing stand up. You know, he's not so you know, like him or not, he crafts good. Look forward to it, but it is hard to watch Arsenio after he did other things and then go back. There's just something about it that makes them think that they didn't really appreciate stand up in the first place, and they went off, and now they want to come back and want me to watch an hour. And the problem is there's a lot of choices out there now. You don't have as much time, so you have to pick and choose. Like I don't even know who to watch anymore. I have to ask you who you recommend. And
Hey, did you see Eddie Pepitone's special on Amazon?
it though, but I didn't.
You know, it's free. You should. I would be curious if your I think it's one of the higher rated specials on there, but I would be curious as to what you think of that because he's more off the script than I am. You know, and he recorded a special, and I think he did that. He had landmarks that he moved from. But anyway, I don't want to get off the subject of the interesting thing we're talking about, which is the cultural cliff that stand-up's fallen off. It's the level of importance that comedy was a mystical Jedi thing, I think, when I was growing up watching these comics in the 80s. And there was a level of cultural importance to that. Like there was a level of, I feel like now stand-up is a workshop for old women and hot young girls to overcome their fear of public speaking. That's kind of how I feel like what's kind of happened. And again, it's totally subjective, you know, but that's kind of how I feel.
Well, yeah, it's like Toastmasters. Basically, you think it's like Toastmasters, where the person who has a sales job, they want to be less nervous in front of a crowd, so they'll show up and practice. And there is a good point. There's a lot of comedy schools that just churn out people. They churn out people. People are interested in it, and I think the culprit. And I was thinking about this, Steve. The culprit is the comedy class graduation ceremony.
We had one of those come into camp. You might have had more than one of those.
But they have those, everywhere. It's filled with 200 people of great, loving audience, and it's kind of like going to Vegas and maybe winning a jackpot on your first, thinking that, hey.
Or it's kind of like a wedding, Everybody throws you a big party telling you how great life's going to be, and then a few years later you're what was it like? Then your life's falling apart when you get the divorce.
But you have a lot of people that go. I think that was aimed at me.
Well, I was hoping you would give me a little assist on that, since you have.
What was that? Oh yeah, here's a joke they bought. Was I was married to somebody. I'm Jewish. She's Catholic. But we had a traditional Jewish wedding. We charged a cover and a 2-drink minimum. So that's so I think that's what you're getting at.
Hey, by the way, audience, the only reason I'm not laughing out loud at these jokes is because I've heard them several 100,000 times.
Oh, I know.
But they are good jokes. My favorite is actually the one where you talk about removing your head and putting on a different person's head for like a clippable head.
Well,
That's a very funny bit.
my head transplant.
Yeah, the head transplant.
Yeah, it's better to have a new head than I want to start completely over rather than have plastic surgery. Yeah, no, I don't want to. It's just
That's funny, man.
I could get a head or worse than the one I already have. So we want to start over. So yeah, thank you.
I think you're being too hard on your head. I mean, I honestly, I understand. I understand where the humor is. I think I'm just going to give you a little critique here on that joke that I've never given you. The joke belongs with a person with a worse head than you, because your head isn't really bad enough. Your head isn't bad enough to get like the. I've seen some bad heads, really bad. I mean, even ones covered with hair that were bad.
Well, I think
Yeah.
Thank you.
You think of somebody with a bad head. I mean, there's got to be a comic. Oh shit.
Okay.
Anyway, I think you could sell that bit for big money to them.
My real head, and this is my real skin. It is what it is. But thank you, Steve. I appreciate that.
I think that every time you tell that joke, I'm sitting back there thinking, it's not that bad. He's not. He's overestimating the catastrophe his head is. But you also do qualify because you come on and go, I'm going to clip on Robert Redford's head or Brad Pitt's head or something like that.
Really, what we need is a clip-on. Like if you when you went to a bar mitzvah or a wedding, couldn't they give you a clip-on?
You could use different heads, like if you really could afford it.
Yeah, if you could just go to Walmart and clip on, get any head you want. You go into a wedding, you put on the George Clooney.
Right.
You have a date with Brad Pitt. You want the lazy, insensitive, only care about yourself head, the most popular Burt Teplitzky. Use that head. But I still think like my wife wants me to get the Chris Hemsworth head. But I think even if I had that head, you'd still be unhappy. Really?
Well, that head with that body, right? That's the joke.
Yeah.
Right. That's the big punchline.
I don't want to act it out. Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, I gave you the assist on that one. Do you see? That was I was very engaged. What didn't I punch up one of your jokes? I gave you some suggestion about one of was it the head joke or shit?
Suggestions on that 2-hour lunch we had. That was you helped me a lot with that. You helped me be.
Oh my God.
Real.
I think you enjoyed my company and you paid me because you enjoyed my company. I don't know how much I really helped you, but if you say I helped you, that's great.
I would do it again.
Well, let's do it again once the Cantor's opens up again. I'm always down for an egg salad sandwich.
Okay.
Because I used to get the pastrami, but you still eat meat, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you get at Cantor's? What's your go-to? These are the critical questions of the day. What's your go-to there?
Well, I usually go to the bakery section, truth be told, and I'll eat the bakery items, but I'm not supposed to be eating all that because health reasons, and I try to hide it from when I bring it in to the house, but I can't hide it because there's crumbs or there's some evidence that I had what I had. I throw the receipt away. I pay cash, but there's crumbs or chocolate chip chips embedded in my shoe. So, but I will eat that on the outside the most that I can. But I do like the pastrami sandwich.
Okay. Well, hey, I don't know what he's talking about, people. Every time I see him, he's bringing a sandwich home. I've never seen him at the bakery. He's very stealthy. I go to the bakery. Every time I go to the bakery, and I bring goodies for everybody, and I offer them to Burt, and he never accepts them. So,
always have arugula.
Oh, if I have arugula, you will take one.
That's right.
Which kind of arugula? Any?
Chocolate chip.
That's it, chocolate chip arugula. Big one or small one or anything?
The small one. It's fine.
Okay, now I know. Now I know what to get.
Yeah. Well, I hope we get to start doing the shows again. It'd be fun to get everyone together and start doing this again, I miss everybody. It's different, you know, being at home and working on stuff on your own, and nobody really wants to get near me or get anywhere near anyone else because, you know, we're all kind of afraid of each other. We don't want to take something home. So it's a strange time, right, Steve?
It's a strange time, but I just spoke to a friend of mine who's in Hong Kong. And what he described in Hong Kong made me so appreciative that I'm in the United States. Even in California where things aren't opened up, things are only partially open here. You know, things are open, but they're not really open yet. We're not really back to normal yet, you know? What's going on in other parts of the world, dude? We have it good. We're doing okay. And there's other parts of the country that are opening up. Yeah, I hope the comedy gets back, but I gotta tell you, dude, the people in show business who wouldn't take my calls, man, they are all over me right now.
Really? Really?
Yeah, because there's no bookings. It's suddenly like we might need to develop someone new because, yeah,
So
yeah, it's actually helping me. It's kind of fucked up to say that. This is actually helping my career. Fuck, man, a plague. It took a fucking plague.
so they talk to everybody. They basically talk to everybody there is to talk to. They've seen everything there is to see. They're looking for more, and that makes sense though. Because what are they doing? 10, 12 hours a day. They're probably looking for new material, new content, new people, right?
Well, I can tell you this, my friend, getting back to the John Mulaney's of the comedy world, that comedy that had value in a pre-pandemic society, like, and I'm talking about him, I'm just using him as an example, but you could throw out 90% of the touring comedians or people on TV or with Netflix specials. They're going to have to do something radical because nobody's going to want to hear bullshit jokes about dating and how the shit that's 90% of what you see at the fucking Comedy Store. I mean, it's not going to go. So maybe that's why. It could be that is why I'm getting some traction because they're like, well, who has anything to say other than flavored mayonnaise? Well, there's that crazy Lolli fucker who's a total insurance risk.
Right.
But what are we going to do?
Well, you know, you make a point like some material that we did without the intent really to hurt anybody became offensive 3 years ago. We had to rework a lot of it, delete, throw a lot of it away. And I've got a friend who's an animator, and he's in so much demand now because you can animate from home, you can animate, and you could do voices and create things, and it's easier than getting people together. And so you could be the next thing because you're saying what needs to be said because you're off the cuff in many ways, but you're scripted, but you're current. And you're right. Nobody wants to hear about my high, shoes, my shoes that are too tight or whatever. When people are going through, you're totally rewrite again.
I just saw a promo for this Jim Gaffigan special. I mean, I don't know, I'm not a Jim Gaffigan fan, but I just saw this promo for his special, and he's talking about, yeah, you know what it's like being in Spain, and when I'm in Canada, who gives a fuck, dude? How was that a thing ever? Well, now nobody really wants to fucking hear your polite musings, your polite sort of chatter at parties jokes, I don't know how that was ever a style, but certainly it's going to face a challenge now.
Those damn.
Go ahead. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
Those damn scripted punchlines.
No, it's not the script. I love Mitch Hedberg, dude. I love Mitch Hedberg. I love Steve Martin. I love scripted comedians who are funny, who have some teeth, for crying out loud. There's got to be some teeth in the mouth. I mean, I don't want a fucking newborn telling you jokes. They haven't even teethed yet. Anyway, but I did want to say one other thing to you. And now I'm brain farted. I'm done. It's too early in the morning, Burt. Oh, you know what it is I'm not giving the audience the whole story. I was getting traction in my career before the pandemic hit, which we have talked about. So I was starting to get traction, and so maybe it's just my time. It probably could just be my time, as opposed to one thing's going out of style and another thing's coming into style. It just might be sometimes the stars align and the universe says it's someone new's turn.
Well, I agree. If you're at it long enough, at some point, everyone seems to get a chance. You know, I had an article written in the Wall Street Journal about my book. That was my big, you know, that was something that I used for corporate bookings. But that has nothing to do with mainstream at all. You know, you've been out there in the mainstream consistently, so everyone knows who you are, and the time is right, and they're going to, you know, pluck what works for their project at that time. And
right.
you just get their time. If you're serious about it, you've always been serious. So, you know, congratulations on, I know you're getting a lot of heat now, so that's good.
Yeah, thank you, Burt. I started very young, which was a great thing. It was a good thing to start as a kid, even though I was terrible and I went through those terrible years of just not being good. But it's easier if you start at 19, you know, because then by the time you're 40, you've been doing it for 20 years, you know. So I think Dave Chappelle started at 15. Eddie Murphy started at 15. I guess my advice to anybody who's starting would be start at 15.
Well, you know, one thing you told me a long time ago that I remember is that you pushed through the nerves. Right? You were a nervous comedian. If a joke didn't work, you would be nervous about the audience, and then after a while, you just didn't give a crap anymore, and you pushed through, and you don't have the nervous scenario. You don't have the, you know, oh, that joke wasn't good, or maybe you'll get that later on your way home. You don't get that. You don't do that.
Right. I still don't want it to go badly, but I understand. I mean, part of it is having a deep bag of tricks too, you know, and you know, if you know, you once you've been doing it a long time, you kind of know, oh, I have this material now. I already have this material here that's really good. So now I just need to learn to do something else, you know? And so that's when I think it became fun for me, is that I could go and start winging it and doing some more experimental things and learning a new kind of comedy I hadn't learned, you know, which is what I wanted to learn, which I didn't really understand. Comedians don't do that, by the way. I was naive to the fact that comedians don't go on and spontaneously create comedy. Pryor and Carlin, I mean, you've talked to people who were at the tapings of or produced Richard Pryor's 70s special, and it was all scripted.
Yeah, it was. Oh my God, yeah, he's trying to think. It was Rocco. I think is how you say it, Rocco Bishi.
Yeah, I think I'm connected with him.
Yes, I saw him speak at the Improv, and it was phenomenal. In fact, Kelly Carlin was there. I think you had talked about that. And he talked about all the specials. He produced all the George Carlin specials, the Lily Tomlin, Steve Martin's, I mean, Gary Shandling, which was my favorite comedian. All of them.
Great comedian.
And I had a chance to talk to him and asked him if any of this was ad-lib. He said nothing. He said 100% of it was completely scripted and worked out. He goes, there was no chance for error.
See, I realized very early on at Mixed Nuts and those black clubs, if I was going to meet my potential, I was going to have to learn to create spontaneously. You know, I just knew that. I don't know. I guess I thought other comedians did that, Burt. I honestly thought other comedians did that. I didn't understand. I didn't know Carlin and Pryor did it like that. So I was, I guess, blessed with ignorance in a way to be, you know, to try something different. But
and you're very adverse to advice. I mean, like there's a couple times where I tried to recommend a couple things, and you are very adamant that no one is going to tell you what the fuck to do. Am I right?
Yes, because I'd taken people's advice and it hadn't worked. That's how I came to that. Because I'm like, no, I want to cut out this time period where I'm you know, taking advice that didn't work for me. It was the advice you gave me probably was advice someone else gave me before, and I tried it and it didn't work.
And in your defense, you never asked for the advice. So there's nothing worse than having someone offer you advice when you don't ask for it. They think you suck, or they wouldn't offer you the advice. So that's not how I felt. I was trying to add to it, but you never asked for it. You know, your advice comes from the audience. If it works, that's your advice. You don't need advice from me or anybody. Your audience is what tells you what works and what doesn't, right?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I mean, I've made it function, right, Bert? I mean, I've made it function and work, and I feel this is how I feel when I go to your show. I feel like the people who come to your show are highly entertained by me. The other comics who come, they are entertained by me because they don't know what I'm going to say. You know, they don't know what I'm going to do, and I see the amusement on some of their faces. So I'm actually entertaining these comics. You know.
It's more than that. You're, you know, the Kibitz program, it's half. It's a music room, really. It's a music venue, so half of it is audience, and then the back half is our bar patrons. And 1 out of 20 comics goes up there, and they will stop drinking, stop talking, and will pay attention to the comic. And you're one of the people that when you get up there, because it doesn't sound like it's going to be a scripted. Hey, folks, what's the deal? Like you're up there and you get their attention. And you even tell them, hey, you fucks drinking back there, pay attention. You're going to learn something. And they start to look at you. You have the ability to get their attention. And that's what it is, right? That's what it is.
Except I don't call them fucks because it's a clean show. But they know what I mean. Those fucks, they know what I mean. They know I mean they're fucks. But I say, hey, you bar, you know, you fashion giraffes or whatever they are. I mean, it's on Melrose, so Melrose and Fairfax is such a strange intersection of like Devil Wears Prada and Blade Runner. It's such a strange, you know, so there's a lot to make fun of with all the people who are shopping and standing in line for shoes and shit over there. It's a weird, it's very weird.
Yeah.
You know.
One.
And then you have Burt, you know, and so anyway, well, that about wraps up our time, Burt. I appreciate you. You filled in on a short notice.
Thank you.
And I've been asking him to do one of these shows for a while. We've been in negotiations, Burt and I, for Burt to do an episode of this show. So
we agreed on the one only arugula, a small one, chocolate chip.
Oh, I owe you a small chocolate
Arugula.
chip arugula. All right, that's pretty good. That's scale. That's comic scale for the.
I like Rami sandwich. We're good.
I just want to bring up one other memory because I'm thinking of it now, and I hope this reflects who Burt really is for you out there because we haven't really. I don't think we've really shown a light yet on the true Burt. One time we show up. One of the fun things about Cantors is we show up like an hour or two before the show. We're like there are 5 or 6 of us who just go, and this is our hangout. Sometimes I go to the show, I don't even go on. I just come to hang out with my buddies, my buddy Burt. So one day we're there about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and a man walks in, not a straight guy, and he wanted to know some information. I'm not going to remember the story exactly right, but I'll get the important parts right. He wanted some information about the show. He'd been drinking, so he was a gay guy, very gregarious. He wanted to know some information, and he took one look at Burt and he goes, "You are a beautiful man." And Burt was so loving and kind to this guy. The guy actually he grabbed Burt and gave him a hug and patted him on the back, not the backside, but the back. And Burt was smiling and laughing through this whole thing and he made this guy feel just right at home. And I go, "Burt, did that really, you were really nice to that guy." And Burt said point blank to me, he goes, "I was fucking terrified." I was mortified. So
I don't remember. I remember feeling that way, but it's possible.
So Burt, I hope this has been genuinely, you're smiling, laughing. I hope this has genuinely been a great experience for you. I've totally enjoyed this myself. And people tune in. Burt, tell us where we can find you on social media.
I just have, look, that's it. I'm just Facebook, and that's all.
Okay, what about a website?
Mailing PO box. No, I'm kidding. What's that?
Website.
Funwayentertainment.com.
Okay, and tell us one more time the name of your third book, not the advice.
It's not going to be okay.
It's not going to be okay with Burt Teplitzky. Get a copy of this. I'm telling you, I haven't read it, but other people I know have, and they've said if you have nothing to do during a plague, this is the best fucking, this is the best entertainment you can get. Thank you, Burt, for joining me, and No Idea Zone family. We'll see you next week. Bye.
You, Steve. Thanks.